In this video, we're going to get ready to start recording by looking at the metronome and count-in options. So last video, I created this extra stereo track at the end, and I want to get rid of it. So we see it here in the mixer, and I'm going to right-click and go remove track, and it removes it from both places. Since they're in sync, you can only have one audio track playing through one channel in the console at a time. And I'm going to get rid of this one as well, which is an extra one that we created. And that's gone. And you'll recall that with the instrument tracks, we actually have this separate remove track and remove the instrument because the instrument remains. So let's look at setting up the metronome. First thing is to click on the metronome setup button at the bottom, and that's this little wrench icon here. And we have a number of parameters. We can determine the sounds that we want for the accent, meaning the downbeat of the bar, the specific beats, and even the off beats. So we have a choice of different settings here, and we can save presets with our favorite setups of these. Right now, this is the default. I'm going to stick with it for the moment, which has no offbeat at all. So it's just the downbeat and then the beat with two different sounds. But here we can load presets and store them. Now here we can choose between pre-count or pre-roll and then the number of bars. So what's the difference? Well, if we choose pre-count, the metronome is going to click for the specified number of bars here before recording starts. Whereas if we choose pre-roll, that means playback is actually going to begin this specified number of bars before the position that we have the playback cursor in. So if we're just starting a recording, pre-count is fine. But if we're punching in or adding, we might want to use pre-roll so we can hear the material leading up to where we want to start recording. For now, I'm going to leave it with pre-count and at 1 bar. And I'm just going to close this for a moment because I want to show you that we can also enable the mode of pre-count or pre-roll with dedicated buttons here or with key commands. So down here, we have this for pre-count, which is Shift-C, and this one is pre-roll, which is O. So I can just use those key commands to move between them to turn them on or off like that. And that's great. So you don't need to open up the metronome settings every time you might want to switch those. And next to this metronome setup, we have the metronome button, and C will toggle that on or off. So we can actually work without opening the metronome setup. Once you've got your basic setup and sounds in place, you can just use C to turn the metronome on or off, and then O or Shift-C to toggle between pre-count and pre-roll. But for now, let's open this up and continue looking. So in addition to setting these, we have some other options. We have repeat accent, and that's for compound time signatures, something like 12/8, where you may have groups of 3, where you'll have the accented beat happen every 3/8 notes, or maybe you're in 5/4 and you want the accent on the first and third eighth note. So those are for compound time signatures. And right now, these are grayed out because the metronome is inactive. So we can activate it from in here by clicking this button, or of course, we can use this button, or we can use the shortcut C. So here we have click and pre-count only. And this is great if you've already got some of your music down and you want to add another part or you're punching in. You may only want the click for the count-in part. And then once the recording starts, you're listening to a drum groove or bass or keyboards, and you don't actually need to hear the click since there may be a time reference in the music. So I personally like that for once we're in progress for recording, but I'm going to leave it off for now. And then we have click and play mode, which I'm going to leave on for the moment. I generally leave it off, meaning when we're in playback, we hear the click. We generally don't want it, but I'm going to leave it on just to illustrate when I do some recordings. I want to illustrate some things to do with timing and the groove. So I'm going to leave that on for the moment. And then finally, we have a render function, which allows us to record the metronome as an audio track, either for the entire range of the song or for a specified loop range that we set in the ruler here. And we'll look at loop ranges in another video. And since we have this on in play mode, let's hit play and you can hear what it sounds like. So we just toggle play with the space bar. So you hear the different sound on the downbeat versus the other beats. And I'm going to hit 0 to return that playback cursor to the beginning. Shift-C enables pre-count, where we hear the metronome for the number of bars that we have set in the metronome setup. And O will enable pre-roll, where playback will start that specified number of bars before the playback cursor so you can hear what's coming before recording starts. C toggles the metronome on and off, and spacebar is the easiest way to start and stop playback from the playhead cursor. We'll continue with more in the next video.